Hey y'all, welcome back to another video with laugh, gags, and gossip. Now let's get into the mess. So this is my final 2 cents on the whole Avatar situation. In an open letter to Monica, the Avatar, surviving Monica, hashtag protect the Avatar at all costs. I watched the show for months. I liked the panel. I liked Monica as the lead. I wasn't really that vested in any of the panelists. I do think I have more of an affinity for Ples only because, as I stated previously, I have worked in a law firm. So some of the way that she would put logic or bring logic to a particular topic versus her emotion, I appreciated that because I know oftentimes we are emotional when we're looking at a situation when in fact it's really not about, what we feel, because, what our feelings are subjective, has more to do with our background, our experiences, our culture, a lot of variables. So I like the way Ples was objective. So with all of this blowing up and, Ples leaving and Monica making the statement that it was for mental health and that being challenged, I began to see a different side of Monica, the Avatar, mainly because I just thought as the leader, she really did not have to address the panelists the way that she did. I mean, after the fact, she's made a lot of derogatory statements. As the manager, as the lead, as the owner of the business, you have to take the high ground, period. And you don't come out publicly and besmudge your own brand by talking bad about your employees. I mean, that's just kind of, business 101. So when Monica came forward and she did the interview with her commentator, the pastor, I think it fell short, for one, because the pastor was very biased. And then she had Wiley on and he was just very passionate. But again, he was on Monica's side, so I don't think he was objective in his role as well. And then none of the panelists were on the show to counter what she said. So I just felt that it fell short. So what I feel, so now there are all these people and YouTubers and subscribers that are trying to unmask and figure out who the Avatar is. And this is just my opinion. If I were Monica, I have been in my own little realm of the world, have been involved in a public situation that was pretty embarrassing for myself and my kid, and people were gossiping, and it was some tough times. I would say it lasted maybe almost 2 years where we were just the spectacles of our little school group. I survived it. I lived through it. It was very painful, not just because of me, but mostly because of my kid. Because when as parents, when we go through things, we're affected, but more importantly, we're more concerned about our children and how they're impacted, and it forever shaped the way we move through this world, because it was just a public thing and it was just horrible. So I understand what it's like to be involved in something on a very minuscule level where it's just like a school community or church community. And now Monica has been put out there publicly in front of thousands. Her subs, I mean, she has over 100,000 subscribers, and so she's being put out there. She's being talked about in the media, and I can imagine how difficult that could be. And, it's like, it's just a lot to deal with because, your name is being dragged through the mud, whether you're right or wrong. I'm not saying that you're right and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm understanding how it feels to have people talking about you and being the topic of discussion. It can be embarrassing and it can be difficult. It can be stressful. It can be a lot of things. However, Monica had the opportunity to, if not at least address it publicly, to address it behind the scenes with her staff. because they did have an employment agreement, verbal or written, whatever contract. There was some agreement. She didn't do that. What she did was go on and bash the employees. That's never the right thing to do. And it's never a good thing to do. And so now we're at the point where there's all kind of cease and desist and potential lawsuits. I mean, because that's what happens in situations like this. When you talk about a person's mental health publicly, you've opened yourself up for a lawsuit if this person was an employee. And I know it varies by state to state. So that was a bad move. I don't know who her crisis manager is or her publicist, but it seems like they're not guiding her correctly. So this is what I'm going to say. As far as the avatar goes, somebody at some point is going to out her, period. The old saying goes, everything done in the dark will come to light. That's a fact. It may take years. It may take a long time. Either somebody's going to have enough money to do a GoFundMe or whatever they do. You know how these people are. People are very creative, and they will come up with a way to have somebody give some information and out her. So that's inevitable. The handwriting is on the wall. It's just a matter of time. One thing I remember Oprah saying, and one thing I remember my mom telling me growing up, and I will share this with one of my girlfriends who has something, is that if you tell your own story, if you own your own ish, they can't use it against you. Because once you come out and say, yeah, I effed up and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so then where's the story? Oh, she said she effed up. Yeah, she effed up. Oh, she effed up. Okay, well. Okay, so what's next? Who we gonna get on now? Monica has the ability to take this story, I don't know, put it on your Patreon, charge, $50 for people to see, for the avatar to be exposed. You can use it to your advantage, but running from what's going to eventually catch up to you is just crazy. Somebody's going to out you. Somebody's going to put the pieces together, and people out there already know. So for me, just the way I was raised, my mom would say, own it before they own you. Because when somebody owns you, or when they out you, you no longer own your story. And then you really have lost all credibility. How can you go on and talk about celebrities and you don't want anybody to talk about you? That's so disingenuous. I mean, that's such a contradiction. Like you mentioned, the bishop, that's an oxymoron. Like, you literally want everybody to respect your privacy while your show goes on and you talk about everybody else's. And then you outed Ples. You gave her full name and where she worked. Yet you still want to be private and you want your identity protected. That makes no sense. Granted, you may not want your face plastered all over the internet. I get it. But for you not to even show some type of a silhouette or something of yourself, it becomes, people, you lose credibility. You just do. Your stories could be factual, but it's not just about what you're talking about. It's the person you are. You're not standing behind your brand. I mean, you're gossiping, which we know it's a gossip site, but now you're not even a person that we can, we don't know your identity, which we really don't need to. But the only reason it's an issue at this point is because you've been outed and because your panelists have come forward and there's been some disagreement. So now people want to know, who is this woman behind the avatar? So Wiley makes the case, the young lady on Mob Radio, she doesn't show herself. We have an image of, I forget her name. It's escaping me right now. But we know what she looks like. She's had some pictures posted. Please don't. You can't compare her with this situation. She has not been in a situation where, she has staff or people saying that they were done wrong or that they have some internal disagreements. So you can't even compare that with Mob Radio. We have enough pictures to have some kind of an image of who she is. Also, Monica went on to say there's some white YouTuber who was nothing but an avatar. That's fine. Again, Has this man been involved in a scandal such as yourself, and have his subbies demanded or pleaded to know who's behind this avatar? It's different. I don't think it was a big, I mean, people may have always been curious, but until this thing happened with Ples, it was not an issue. It is now an issue, and now people are questioning who you are. And let me see. You mentioned the Mob Radio, and I know her name. I'm just drawing a blank right now. I don't want to screw it up because I do like her. I like her station and I watch it, but I'm just drawing a blank right now. You mentioned the YouTuber, the white guy who has a 7 million subs and nobody's seen him. That's fine. And then somebody even mentioned the impressive. Again, impressive. I don't even know that she has an avatar as much as there's some music and some pretty graphics on her page and a voice, and that's fine. But again, she has not been involved in a situation that has blown up like you. So who you are as an avatar was not an issue, has not been an issue until this case, this situation involving Ples and your other panelists, all of them having this massive exodus. So now people want to know, because they've accused you of some things and you've countered their accusations, people want to know who you are. I mean, that's fair. The bottom line is, no, you don't have to identify yourself. That's your right. You just don't have to do it. But it does diminish the all about the tea brand, because now people are thinking, or at least for myself, how are you going to spill everybody else's tea? But when you're in the hot seat, you can't take it. You run scared, you continue to hide, and you don't take accountability of ownership of what's going on. I mean, that's just not the way people do business if they want to continue to have a strong brand. Just my opinion. I don't flash my picture out there either. As I said before, I'm an introvert. I'm trying to get outside of my comfort zone. And so I get it. However, there are pictures of me floating around. Like, if somebody wants to know who I am, I don't have a problem. Hey, this is me. Okay. I might not want you to see me on one day because I might have a bad hair day. But for the most part, I'm good. I get that that is not your brand. But at this point, if you don't own your own identity, somebody else will. And when it comes out, and if it's not by your mouth and through you, it's going to look very bad. So, LGG gang, weigh in. That's just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think. Bottom line is, she never has to expose herself, but I guarantee you, the way the world works, somebody gonna expose you. And when they do it, it's gonna be ugly. And then people are gonna be like, that's a bust. Period. If you do it yourself, you own it, you control it, you say when, you say how, you say when. From that movie Pretty Woman, remember when the lead lady, I forget her name too, but anyway, when she said, I say when, I say how, I say when, that's exactly it. If you don't do that, then what are you doing? Anyway, jump in the comments, let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye. And one last thing before I sign off. One thing that my mom taught me, she was a nurse practitioner, pediatrics nurse practitioner, and she had her own patient panel, and she would do the discharges, and she would be the one. It's either your doctor or your NP that examines your newborns or whatever before they leave the hospital. So she would be in the hospital, but for the most part she was in the clinic. And so when I was very young in my career in IT, if you make a mistake, and I would just beat up on myself so bad. And my mom used to say, I would call her, Mom, I screwed up the server build or whatever, and she would say, did you lose a patient today? Did you kill anybody today? Okay, then you're good. It's recoverable. So that's kind of something that I've always had to live by that. And just with Monica the avatar, like, you didn't kill anybody. It looks bad and it's a bad situation, but it's recoverable. It's not that bad. So just throwing that out there for anybody, anything that you do in life. Pause sometimes when you beat up on yourself too much, and you run from your mistakes. It's recoverable. It's when you take accountability. Hey, I have to tell myself all the time, even to this day when I make mistakes at work, I'll own up to it, because it's like, well, I always go back to when my mom says, I didn't lose a baby, I didn't hurt somebody's child, so it's okay. So you're not gonna get to beat me up that bad, and I will, hey, step to a manager and with a, hey, excuse me, nah, ain't nobody died around this mug. So that's just something. Hey, for those of you sometimes who are very hard on themselves, as I am, take that little nugget, always put things in perspective. If you really ain't hurt nobody, words can't hurt and stuff, but if you ain't caused somebody to lose their life, hey, it's recoverable. Okay? That's my 2 cents.